Hey everyone, this is Shepard from socialdissonance.com. Apologize for my absence in the past 2, maybe 3 weeks. I've been really busy with a lot of personal things, but that should all be coming to an end very soon. And hopefully my video production and the Monster Hunter podcast will be back on track. Until then, I really want to start a quick start for Dark Souls. I've been reading from a lot of people. They find that the game is much more difficult than Demon Souls. Christian in particular has been having a hard time getting a handle on the beginning, and I've played a lot of this game over this past weekend. My brother was just up. We spent the entire weekend playing it together, and I think I've got a pretty good handle on a quick start guide for somebody who's just getting into the game. Maybe you played Demon Souls before, maybe you didn't, but in any case, this should get you some decent items in the beginning, and it should help you figure out where you have to go just to start off with. Okay, so Shepherd, male, class. There are 10 classes in the game. They all have different starting attributes. I find that unless you're going to be doing a lot of multiplayer, Faith is a kind of a useless statistic, only because you're given a renewable healing source for all the characters. And without going through all of them individually, I really suggest starting off with the Pyromancer. Pyromancy is kind of like a spellcasting ability, but the real benefit of it is you don't really have to spend any points in your statistics in order to actually make it better. You can actually just upgrade your Pyromancer Flame manually. Again, Dark Souls really hasn't done too much in terms of making the different options for hair and face that much better. I think the face is a little bit better. You can kind of like change some options just a little bit. You can create similar faces. If you want to see something really amazing, you just go through different, match that out. I'm not going to do that. This is something that I'm going to try and do real quick. It should take me about, maybe a half hour. Maybe a little bit less. It depends how much I die and how much I edit it out. But in general, male, Pyromancer, choose the Master Key. In terms of anything else, it's really the best because you can kind of take some shortcuts through different areas, and straight away you can get some items that are going to make the beginning much better. So I'm not going to go through any of the cinematics or really even much of the talking. This is, again, not really going to be an LP. If I do an LP, maybe I will. But all the videos and everything else, I'm sure, are already up on YouTube somewhere. I know for a fact that the intro was up there. And for anybody that liked Demon Souls, or especially anyone that likes Monster Hunter, this game is just more of the same. I'm not going to say it's better than Monster Hunter, but it is definitely a whole lot of fun. Going through different builds, putting on artificial limitations for your characters, stuff like that. There's a lot of freedom. There's a lot of freedom in character creation. There's a lot of creativity you can do as well. Because there's some scaling with the enemy's power as well, based on your current soul level, you can actually do some really interesting things. I mean, I'm sure there's going to be someone at some point that's going to beat the game as a level 1 Pyromancer. That will not be me, but I would love to see it done. So straight away, you start off with really nothing to defend yourself. You have a broken sword handle. You're going to see this guy pop out. Don't even bother trying to fight him. You can't. I mean, I'm sure if you unequip your straight sword and you just use your fists, you might be able to attack him fast enough, long enough to just beat him to death that way. But that's a challenge for another day. And so, straight away, you're in this kind of like prison area. This is for undead people. You have to go around picking up all of your various weapons and items that your character would normally start off with. They're not going to leave you out to dry. And I think the hand axe that they start you off with the Pyromancer, I think that's a pretty decent weapon compared to some of the other things. It can be used two-handed and get a pretty decent bonus from the strength boost you get when you two-hand a weapon. Otherwise, it does regular damage, which is pretty safe all around. It doesn't really get any bonuses or disadvantages against certain damage types. For instance, undead skeletons get a significantly more amount of damage from blunt weapons. Not to mention that they also fall apart when you hit them with a blunt weapon as well. So this is just some poor dying guy. I think that's actually elite knight armor, and that's a pretty cool looking shield. But he gives us the Estus flask. The difference from Demon Souls is that this flask is renewed every time you take a rest. So you know, there's no longer any more soul farming, trying to pick up, you know, half moon grass or whatever it is. You just are kind of based on that. And I think it kind of adds a little bit of a balance to the game. It really rewards careful play. All right, I'm going to put the Pyromancy Flame where my axe is. And I'm going to save that for the boss. But I probably won't kill them all with fireballs. I'll show you how you're supposed to beat him if you just want to use a melee weapon. He's pretty easy. Certainly much easier than the Tormentor. The Tormentor was supposed to kill you at the beginning of Demon Souls. And this shield is pretty terrible. I mean, it's okay for blocking arrows, I guess. But it's pretty much as bad as you get in terms of taking on actual physical damage. See, I mean, I still took like a pretty decent chunk of damage from that. And I think you're supposed to just parry this guy. I don't do that. You know, parry timing is not something that I've really gotten used to. The fun part about it, though, is you have a backstab animation, and you also have a parry animation. And I think, in general, parrying attacks are pretty much the coolest looking things in the game. And it's definitely something I'd like to practice later on. Okay, so you just switch over to your fireball spell if you want. The attack animation is pretty long. You've got to both light the flame and then throw it. And the distance isn't all that far either. Like, I'm going to try and move back a little bit. And unless he walks into it. Okay, well that didn't really prove my point. But in any case, you know, the fireball is consistently something you're going to find yourself missing with when you're trying to hit something that's kind of far away. And the game's pretty easy too. I mean, it's definitely very forgiving about the damage that you take from this Asylum Demon. Oh wow. You can't actually block the attack even with that terrible, terrible shield. Huh, interesting. But as you can see, he's pretty simple. Another sort of kind of Monster Hunter type thing is that I don't think with him, but definitely with other types of bosses that you fight along the way, oftentimes they'll have a tail. And if you focus your attacks on the tail, it doesn't have to be with a cutting weapon, it could even be with a blunt or magic, you can actually break the tail off. And that results in additional equipment being dropped, and oftentimes a weapon. I think I've only ever found weapons from cutting off tails. I think I found like a lot of axes.
In the ancient legends, it is stated
that seems to be the most popular thing that pops out of tails.
one day an undead legends.
Okay, and there's that twinkly twinkly sparkly sparkly guy back from Demon Souls. It's probably a different one, but definitely pretty similar. And you can see you can kind of get through the beginning portion of the game very quickly. I mean, it really does not take long at all. So you notice now that I rested at this particular bonfire that my Estus flask goes up to 10. It's because you can kind of kindle up flames using points of humanity. You'll see I just picked one up. That's actually an item. That's a consumable that I would have to use on my own. Doing so will let you upgrade it to 10 in the beginning, and then later on you gain the ability to kindle it up all the way to 20. Although that requires an awful lot of points. As you can see, I just ran past the guy in the chainmail armor. I'm running down here. It's because straight away you want to get a better shield. And then after you get a better shield, there's actually an item you can also get down here that will make your Estus flasks just a little bit more powerful. It's definitely worth it. And this is basically the crux of the quick start guide, is that you can get these two items straight away with any character so long as you chose the master key to make the beginning part of the Undead Burgs a little bit more manageable. And especially with the build that I take with a Pyromancer, the sort of abilities that I use and he starts off with, it's really much easier. Okay, one thing that I have yet to figure out is grabbing the shield that we're going to get from over here. It's rather difficult to grab it and not die. I've tried evasion on a couple times and didn't work out so well. So we're just gonna play this by ear. He falcon punches you, this dude over here. And just so you know, the main reason for this shortcut is there's actually an entrance to Blighttown. It's like a back entrance. Oftentimes you have to go through a pretty long and convoluted path through the Undead Burgs to get to Blighttown, but having this as an option makes it much easier to get there. Okay, he looks dead. He's not dead. Okay, I'm actually going to try and block this. We'll see if I survive. I did not. But in any case, we have a... And I think actually it wasn't necessarily because I think I just missed getting the attack blocked. But in either case, almost every time I go for that, I die. Not a big deal. I hadn't yet consumed that point in humanity, so there's no loss there. And you can always go ahead and pick up your Soul Stain. which will return that 1,000 odd soul point to me. So I'm just going to cut ahead right here back to where I was with the dragon, and then we're going to go ahead to the next area and grab the other item that'll get us really prepared and ready to start off in the Undead Burgs. Okay, so here we are back again. It was about a 1-minute run over here. Not very strenuous at all. Not a big deal. And we're just going to run back to where the dragon was, and we'll see my soul staying somewhere around him. I kind of dawdled in front of him, so it's possible that my soul is close to him, but generally, once he's woken up, he just does this kind of annoying poison attack, which is easily evaded by just running. Now, he does have another item there, but it's not even really necessarily worth picking up unless you're a faith-based character. It's a faith-based longsword. I think it's a longsword. Only really worth it if you're playing some sort of cleric-type character. I think it requires 10 strength, 10 dexterity, and 14 faith. And I'm never going to put a point into faith, so it's really no point in even wielding it. Unless you have the required attributes for the weapon, it's not worth using because the damage is just pitiful. Now, for you really brave people, the entrance to Blighttown is here. If you run through, you can kind of make your way down some platforms. You can pick up some new armor, which is fairly light and has some fairly decent defense on it. I'm not going to do it. I think it's kind of a lot to ask of all new players to go that far, so we'll just leave that alone. Just to kind of check out what we got from there, we got a Dragon Crest shield. You can see, just a comparison, it blocks 100% of physical and actually almost 85% of fire. That's a pretty decent fire resistance. In fact, I think it's the highest in the game for shields. Not going to be 100% certain on that, but it's certainly helpful. Also, along the way, we picked up a Soul of a Proud Knight, and that gives us 2,000 souls. And as you can see, we're after beating that one boss, we only got 1,000. So 2,000 souls is quite a bonus. Okay, so important to note, at the bottom of these stairs, just before the bridge, is a guy in an urn. We need to fight. We need to break open the urn and take the transient curse. It's because up ahead are some ghosts, and they can only be damaged if you have the transient curse active, or if you have a special weapon that actually damages them. In any case, they're fairly easy as a pyromancer. The fireball does a decent amount of damage to them, and in fact, you're going to fight 2 of them straight away. Go ahead and just take them out with a fireball, or at least hit them once with a fireball and take them out with an axe. But I'm going to play it a little safe because this is kind of be an embarrassing moment if I died here. And see, there's really no room to fight with an axe there, so I'm just going to go ahead and use that on her. Something else to note, in case you do die horribly to this next spot, you may want to go ahead over to this corner, break this urn, and you can grab 2 more transient curses off of this body, just kind of as a backup. And the curse does not last forever. The curse only lasts maybe 5 minutes? Possibly 10 minutes. But you want to get going. Alright, so you can see we ran across the bridge. You're going to go around to this like little stone archway here. And just walk forward a little bit. Just a little bit. Careful. Careful where you're standing. Okay, you're going to see all these ghosts pop up, and there are 3 of them, and we only have 4 fireballs. So you might want to wait a little bit for them to kind of gather up a little bit. Fireball has some slight splash damage. If you land it on a bunch of them at the same time, as you can see, the process is made a lot easier. And otherwise, you just have to fight the camera. Directly ahead of you is like a stone little walkway in the water. Just take your time. There's no rush. And off of this body, we find the Firekeeper soul. See, we have an Estus flask. Been talking about that a little bit. Because it's such a renewable resource, and it helps you so much, you want to be able to power it up as best you can. You can do that with these Firekeeper souls. Now, this is generally a thing that you would get, I don't want to say much later on, but unless you knew it was there, it might take you quite a while to get there. So we're going to go ahead. I'm just going to skip back. You just go back exactly the way you came, and I'm going to cut ahead to the camp. And I'll talk about what we're going to do there once we get there. Okay, so we're back at the base camp. I'm going to go ahead and rest here. It'll restore most of my fireball. And I'm going to start eating all of these souls that I picked up. So I had one of an unknown, one of a nameless, and one of a proud knight. You see the Proud Knight's going to be 2,000, so I've got a ton of points here. Something to note is all the equipment you wear has various weights on it. Kind of see hand axe weighs 2, and all these things together weigh about 5. And with the shield, my total equip is about 12. So if you're under 25% of your total encumbrance, you stay at light encumbrance, and that's something that I really like to have. Different players, I think new players might want to stay at medium encumbrance, wear heavier armor and not move around or dodge as much. Just for myself, though, I prefer to have that as an option. So I'm going to boost my endurance to 15. Just going to double check that it rounds off okay. It most definitely does. You can see you roll very quickly. If I put on something much heavier, let's say like an S-stock, you can see the rolling is much slower. So this way, it's not that big of a difference. We'll go with that. Other than that, I don't really need anything else to be boosted up for a little while. So I'm just going to put some more points into Vitality. It'll allow me to take a couple more hits. And Vitality and Endurance. Endurance, for most players that are doing melee, should eventually be boosted to 40. It's because at that point, you stop receiving points into Stamina. Vitality, anywhere between 30 and 40 is fine. Okay, as you also notice, we picked up that Firekeeper soul. Talk to this woman down here. She doesn't talk, but she can reinforce your Estus Flask. Improves your Estus Flask to a +1. Means all of your healings will heal for just a little bit more. And early on, it's quite a boost. Less time spent drinking flasks, more time putting out damage. Oh, and just so you know, there's all sorts of things you can climb on back here. You can roll around back there, get some other items. I don't need any to start off, so I'm not going to bother showing them. But I have some fun exploring back there, and just be careful of the skeletons. They'll hurt you. Okay, now we get into some more combat. Have a good time. Gotta be careful. This guy's gonna be throwing firebombs at us. He's a real jerk. In fact, I might go up there and fight him first. An interesting thing you can do now is you can kick. Kick him. Okay, I gotta be careful. I don't want to get knocked off. It's actually kind of hard to kick. I mean, you're supposed to press forward and attack at the same time, but the timing on it is a little weird. Like, you basically got to press both at the exact same time. See, they still have their flailing attack from Demon Souls. I got kind of messed up by the camera there, and that was my fault. But I've got 10 Estus Flasks +1. Not a big deal. I forget if there was an item down there. Oh, if there is, it doesn't bother me. Something to note in this game is humanity is a... oh, that's going to be... what is that, a soul over there? Humanity is something to really try to stock up and conserve, if at all possible. You can actually get them if you find these plague rats around. You'll find a grouping of 3 of them later on. We'll be getting to them eventually. If you fight them an awful lot, they actually do drop points of humanity for you to consume. And early on, if you really need it for whatever reason, that's probably the fastest way to find it outside of the static ones you find on various bodies. Okay, do some more combat up here. And, you know, a really safe way to fight is, you know, put on the Tarting Reticle and just keep your shield up until you can get behind them. You're invincible when you're doing the backstab animation, and with your shield blocking 100% of physical damage, there's really not much that can be done to you. This might be another soul. And I don't even really need them anymore. I mean, at this point, I have all the statistics I need. I think I'm going to make this guy into a dexterity-based character. As I was saying before, pyromancy requires a real minimal amount of investment in soul levels. I don't know why I'm not blocking that. To become powerful. So that's something that I'm just going to focus on as I get later on in the game. Okay, there's a lot of guys here. I might use a fireball on them. There's a rest spot, like, right in the next room. So I'm not going to worry about whether or not that was efficient. I might show you straight away, if you're having a hard time taking on enemies here, I'm going to show one area you can go to. You can buy some different equipment and stuff. I don't think I'm actually going to do any of that. God, I hate these lance users. The worst. You're supposed to parry them. The lance is fairly easy to parry, but I don't really do it. I just wait for them to attack and then I circle around behind them. And generally speaking, like one-on-one... You can see I've been playing too much Dark Souls. My controller's low on battery. Don't worry about that. Not a big deal. Okay, we'll just go through the different items that this merchant over here sells. I'm standing on his head. I hope he doesn't mind. Fire bombs are something you can stock up on. They're really cheap if you're having a hard time with any of the tougher enemies. I'm not going to buy any of them. If you do not pick up the master key, pick up a residence key. It's helpful to get some real boosts. I think you can get some coatings from a room. Good weapons to buy if you're not happy with your character's starting weapon. The scimitar is fairly decent if you've got the dexterity for it. Otherwise, for a long time, I ran around with a reinforced club. And this is especially good if you're going to be fighting those skeletons later on. And finally, you can get yourself a short bow, which is useful for getting a extra powerful sword. I'm actually not going to do that, although I will mention when you finally can do it. And likewise, if you didn't bother getting the fire shield, get the heater shield, because it has 100% resistance to physical. Okay, don't need any of those things. All I bought was the orange soapstone. That's for rating messages and writing your own messages. I believe the way that mechanic works is if you write a message and somebody rates it, you get yourself an extra Estus flask, which is nice. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and rest at the bonfire. We're just going to get our fireballs back. It's helpful. Maybe we can level up again. Level up our vitality one more. I've picked up some extra souls at this point, but I'm not going to bother going through them. And I'm not going to bother using my point of humanity. There's a point soon. I might die going through it. And so if you know for certain that you're entering a really risky area, the only reason to really use your humanity and become human is either to power up a bonfire, or if you were going to try and do the multiplayer. And right now we're planning on doing everything single player, so I'm just going to save it for later. Ouch. That's a lot of fire. I'm just going to use a couple fireballs in here because it gets kind of close and tense. You've got two guys throwing fireballs at you, and you've got a knight that's trying to hit you. Nicest part about the axe is it's got a pretty nice arc. If you're running low on health, go ahead and heal. They come back. Stop. Stop it. Okay, so we got ourselves a firebomb. Oh, we actually got a longsword. Oh, it kind of makes me wish I actually put a point into dexterity. Because I plan on pumping up dexterity eventually anyways. I probably will in just a moment, actually. Because that's actually a good enough upgrade from the hand axe that it's worth doing. And that's a random drop. There's no guarantee that that's going to come. Okay, so running into this house, we got ourselves some black fire bombs that can be very useful on some of the bosses up ahead. First boss, you don't need it, but especially early on when the enemies are still fairly weak to static damage like that, it's worth doing. Oh, that's right, this guy over here throws fire bombs. Oh no, be careful not to die. It's easy for yourself to get overwhelmed. I mean, even against weak enemies, I mean, every attack results in a flinch. And it's not like other games where you get knocked over and you're able to really take your time recovering. I mean, they will just keep attacking. Especially this fireball guy here. This real jerk. Okay. And of course, later on, you can get yourself much more powerful, take out all the enemies in just one hit. And I find that generally I'm better against bosses than I am against normal enemies, and I don't know quite why that is. Maybe there's just something about minions that fills me with some sort of intrinsic terror, I don't know. You should go ahead and attack. Shield bash. Oops, that was the wrong button. This is not Monster Hunter. You do not need square unless you're healing. Oh, he actually healed. Oh, that's interesting. Let's go ahead and use some firebomb. Okay, and again, we got ourselves another spear user. It's really annoying. Okay, you saw there that there was some black energy coming out of that one soldier there. That humanity actually does a lot of great things for me. First of all, you can see my item discovery is now 120 over 100. And although it's difficult to tell, my physical defense is increased by 1 point. Each soul you take in, each point of humanity will boost your physical defense by 1 point. As well as, I think, fire defense, definitely your curse defense. And there's some plateauing there, but if you can stockpile humanity and, like, not die, you can make yourself much more effective. Okay, one thing right here. There's going to be a trap. Try and avoid that. Okay, try not to fall down with it. What? It's down. Can he even get to me? Oh, there might be a secret area down there. Well, I'm not going to go in there, but that's something for you guys to check out later. It'll be a little secret. If you feel really confident in your ability to fight difficult guys, you can use the Master Key to go down here. It's a really difficult knight, but the ring he gives you lets you equip much more weight without being weighed down. If you want to go ahead and do that, you can. I'm not going to show it off here. It would take too much time and it'd be a bit too much to ask for newer players. Let's climb up this ladder here because we got some backstabbers. Not really backstabbers, but they shoot us with arrows. They're jerks. Let's see if I can get a backstab off. No. Jeez, they just do so much damage early on. I guess that's the weak point of being a pyromancer is your defense is just so low with this armor. You just cannot take hits. When my brother played this game, he always used like heavy armor. He never had any problems. And otherwise, we still have 2 Estus flasks, which doesn't seem like much, but really this boss is such a pushover. It's no problem at all. We'll go ahead and we'll use our 4 fireballs on him. Just, you know, be a little patient. If it looks like he's about to attack, he probably is. Go ahead and roll backwards. And if you've got light encumbrance, that should be no issue. Oh, and sometimes he'll get stunned from the fireball you're throwing at him. Now at this point, you've got 2 choices. You can continue using fire bombs and stuff like that. If you really want, you got those black fire bombs. That's a choice. I'm just going to go ahead and use my actual weapon on him. You see there, the shield is rather effective. The only real issue is that he stomps around, and his stomps will actually, like, hurt you. Like, you take some trample damage. And otherwise, just try not to take any of his hits straight on. Like that. Maybe a bad idea. Okay. You know what? I got black fire bombs. I'm going to use a couple of them. Why not? You can buy them later on anyways. That's it, right? No? One more? Okay. No problem. And there's no such thing as cheesing a boss in this game. I don't care what any of you say. It can be rather difficult. Okay, there's an item back here. I'll just grab it. I think it's another soul. Something to note if you're having a hard time on bosses is you can talk to this guy out here on the balcony. And he'll give you something called a white soapstone. If you drop that in a place, you can actually join other people's worlds in co-op. And if you help them beat the boss and you succeed, you actually get a point of humanity. Not to mention a pretty decent amount of souls. Okay, for this last part right here, we're almost to a shortcut back to a checkpoint. You want to be at full health. You want to be in light encumbrance. You gotta be really ready to run. Just try and dodge these arrows, and hopefully I'll survive whatever attack is coming. I cannot guarantee that I will. It's entirely possible that I'll die. Okay, I got really lucky. I did not die. Sometimes that'll kill you straight out. Just get down these stairs right away, because there's going to be more fire coming. Okay, and so you go through this door. You're going to find yourself a ladder. Kick it. Slide down. And then this bonfire right here should be somewhat familiar. And it means that we're relatively close to the midway point of this little tutorial here, this little quick start guide. We'll just put more points into vitality. Actually, I take that back. I'll put 1 point in dexterity too. So I can use that longsword. Okay. And we'll switch that out. And the longsword just has... It's not that the damage is much better, although it does get a better parameter bonus. But the attack animations are a little bit faster too. And that's helpful. You also have a piercing option as well, which is a little bit better because we're going to be in a narrow area in just a moment. And it would be really annoying if we had to actually swing the full axe around like that. And of course, if this didn't drop for you and you like the way the animations look or the way the attack style looks, you can always buy it from that merchant that we saw just earlier. See here, get around behind him, if at all possible. You know, the smaller piercing weapons actually do get a bonus in range that you can get the backstab off of. Yeah, let's pull this guy out here. Again, the scariest thing about this game is ledges and cameras. They get really annoying. Stop it. Yeah, you can see I'm having a hard time hitting him because of that wall there. Might just hit him with a fireball. Why not? There's no reason why not to. Okay, there's some rats in here. If I screw up and they poison me, I'm gonna have to restart. Back at the camp. But if you use the R2 attack of the longsword, you can do a piercing attack. And that's fine with hitting them. As you see, I got through with just a little bit of damage. Not all that bad. Okay, so we're almost there. Making pretty decent progress. Okay, we're going to have a couple enemies that we're going to want to fight up ahead. There we go. There's the backstab. Okay, go through this door carefully. There's going to be a guy that's going to want to come out and attack you. You want to take people on one at a time. So you can see that boar over there is not happy to see us. Oh wow, he didn't die from all that. You'll see him start to stomp and charge when he's ready to kill you. Not yet. Well, that's going to take with this guy. Got to play that Star Trek duel music. Okay, here he comes. Whoa! Okay, we're going to run around, I think this way? He can't get us up here, but we can get him. We're going to use our fireballs. Crap. Wait for him to start an attack animation or start to run away. Just keep hitting him with fireballs. It should take, what? It's going to take about 6? 5? We can finish him off with sword. Nope, he's dead. He's dead at 5. Good. Sometimes he drops a helmet. I've never gotten it. My brother has gotten it every single time because he's a jerk. That's okay. Alright, there's a bunch of enemies around. They're going to start shooting arrows at you. Best thing to do, just run straight past them. I think there's some items up there, but you don't really need them. And be careful of the guy that got angry just because I exist. He's followed me. And thankfully it's a sword user. If it were a spear user, I would be sad. And really take advantage of the R2 attack with the sword. It's got great forward range. And it does decent damage as well. Otherwise, I prefer just the normal R1 attack. there's a key back here that we need. So go ahead and pick that up. I don't know if the master key also works, but the mystery key is needed later on. Not covered in this walkthrough. Speed setup. Oh, wow. Okay. Uh-oh. That was really bad. Yeah, I mean, even the weakest enemies have the potential to put out a ton of damage. It's just really quite amazing. Okay, so we're almost there. It's 2 or 3 minutes away. Guys are going to be shooting at me. I don't care. I think we take a left here. Careful the enemies. It's another spear user. I hate them so much. There we go. And what does it take? A left, and then another left. Okay, this guy is a bad mamma jamma, but you know what? We're at the point right where I want us to be. We're just going to keep running down this bridge. Going to run past these guys. And straight to the right and down here. And this is going to be... It's going to be the end of a quick start. And that's because when we're here, you're going to be given all the options you need to make the game significantly easier for yourself by just upgrading your equipment. So you can hear the sound of a hammer. It's a good sign. Light this bonfire. Go ahead and sit down at it. And my advice is, if you have the humanity, and I do, go ahead and use the humanity here. Right? Become human. Reverse hollowing. And kindle it once. Because this is going to be a pretty decent place of operations for you for quite a while and later on. As you can see, there's a way down there, there's a way down there, and there's a way back up. And between all of them together, that's like 3 main areas that you're going to be fighting bosses at. Very helpful. Alright, and just going down to the basement just to kind of show what you'd want to be able to do. Although I guess, what should I do? I guess I'll eat a soul. Just to demonstrate. Need a little bit more than that. Talking to the blacksmith here, holding with both hands. What? You can purchase these things here called Titanite shards. And that allows you to upgrade your weapons or armor to make them more powerful with really no downsides. As you can see, he sells other weapons if you're interested in them. If you prefer to have a broadsword, you can purchase that as well. It does a little bit more damage than the longsword. Battle axe, war pick, and battle axe aren't all that great. If you have the strength for it and the dexterity, the pike is amazing. It's got really long range, does pretty decent damage. But otherwise, I'm going to buy myself a Titanite shard, and I'm just going to go to reinforce weapon. What? Do I not have the souls? Oops. More expensive than I thought. Oh, it's 600 and then plus 200. Okay, so go to reinforce weapon. It'll change it from 80 damage to 88 plus 6. It's great. Okay, so otherwise, this pretty much takes you through the important parts of the beginning of the game. You know, if you want to save up some more money, it's going to take a lot of souls to do that. Buying the crest of Artorias and beating a demon that's down there will open up an amazing grinding spot. In fact, maybe the best grinding spot in the game, especially the early game. Otherwise, until next time, this is Shepard saying good luck and have a good hunt.